Hello everybody. I'm Dr. Franceschini, General Secretary of CNA Federmoda. I'm the organizer of this event supported by the Italian agency with the cooperation of Secretary Ross and the CFIB. The idea today is to have a little speech on the international scenario of the international fashion sector by our point of view, and to have a support and focus by the Italian trade agency, by the director Marco Saladini, and by the CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Only a little presentation to present. We are CNA is the International Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises. In Italy, is an association, a private association that started the activity immediately after the Second World War. And inside the CNA, we have Federmoda, that is the part, the union that group together the company on the working fashion sector. And for us, fashion sector means footwear, garment, textile, and so on. So the entire supply chain. We represent more or less 25,000 of companies, small and medium. We are a great network in our country. In our country, we have about 1,000 of offices. We are based in every region and municipality of Italy, and we support our company with different services, and overall, in this case, create a condition to help the internationalization of our small and medium company. And for this, we have normally agreed support by the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Italian Trade Agency. Then this slide are available if someone are interested, no problem to you. And some data about the fashion sector. It's a very important sector in the world gross domestic product, about $2 trillion US dollar, and for Italian means about 83 billion based on 2021 years. Speech note that means clothing fashion is overall an industry. So it's important this when we think on and we spoke or discuss on this sector, because sure is this creativity, it is we see good things, but overall is an industry, a very important industry. The sector very fragmented. The global sector is involved in a great creativity. At the same time, the sector is a sector open to the globalization, and is a subject to changing, challenging, and uncertain that is in Italy. We have more or less 70,000 of company, concerning about 700,000 employees. And important, but on this, is to understand that yes, we represent craftsmen, small, but we have a lot of companies that are dedicated and involved in the international market. This is a study that we have made some years ago with the support of the Italian trade agencies that explain this situation, where we have a lot of small companies that are involved in the international market in overall extra way country. For the sector, it's important this in mind, have an international vision and international relationship, because the relations in this sector are very important. And in the last year we have had a lot of problems due to this, that in some situations create a situation of dumping. For the Italian sector, the leading factor are the supply chain strategy, the condition of working nice and well done, and the ethical value. Concerning the supply chain strategy, we have the opportunity in Italy to have today a whole chain, and the Italian company can work and supported by all the pieces of the condition. Important for us is to put in the first vision this situation is nice and well done, that is based overall on the material, on the detail quality, and in the link of these two virtuosity, the creativity, virtuosity that come from our designer, and the productive virtuosity based on the strengths of our small company. In the last year we have had the opportunity to see some signal from the market, one based on the handmade product, means overall personalization and customization of the product, and ethical values, because this is very important to work on this one overall on the sustainability. And on this we will see that our small company can have the opportunity to work with a market like the Canadian market, overall to create a relationship with the small retailers. And to support this strategy, I think we must work together with different associations to raise the consumer awareness and also consumption. On this example, in Italy, we have had the opportunity to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Italian Ministry of University and Training to create a lot of workshops inside the Italian schools to create a conscious council to inform the people what means the fashion production. And so we hope that supported by this basis, we can have the opportunity to involve better the market for our company in Canada. Thank you.
So I will continue also in English. I'm Marco Saladini, for those who I have not met. I'm the director of the Italian Trade Agency's offices in Canada. We have two, one in Montreal and one in Toronto. And so we're here to help companies approach the market. So our trip starts from Italy, continues through this liaison office that I have, and will eventually come to Canada with the intervention of Ryan later. So, taking our time, through this. And for me, my task today is to highlight the opportunities offered by using the social media marketing and sales channel. So we have here two audiences, Canadian and Italian, different professions, traders, journalists, manufacturers, store owners, employees, colleagues from the agency. So I need to speak English, and I need to take into account different points of view, so please forgive me if some of my considerations are obvious to you, to your audience, and be new to the other part of the audience. So a couple of introductory words about Canada. This is very dynamic, culturally very diverse country. Population is 38.6 million people, 80% live within 200 kilometers from the US border. So the size is second only to Russia. Canada is 10 million square kilometers big. And it's very rich in natural resources, enjoys one of the most solid economies in the world, boasting a diversified manufacturing enterprise, advanced high-tech sector, developed service sector, and strong economic links with the United States, once again, as for trading partner with Europe, and the most economically developed part of the Pacific, including China, Japan, and South Korea. In addition, Canada boasts the most skilled workforce in North America, with the highest percentage of the population with a high school or a college degree. Literacy has reached 99%, and frequent internet users represent 96.5% of the population. So we're coming to my point of today. This is almost 37 million people in 2022. So this data alone already confirm the importance of the digital industry in Canada, and in fact today here and on a global level there is no other more effective means of marketing than digital. So Italy ranks 7th among countries exporting to Canada. Sales of Italian leather, textile and clothing goods to Canadian importers have totaled over 1.1 billion Canadian dollars in 2021. And the increase was 22% over 2020. So the market share was 4.5%. So there is an evolving landscape, and there is a connection, a business connection already there. So how these two things can interact better? We, of course, have experienced in the past 2 years a lot of difficulties that have not only changed the fashion trends and the demand for clothing and apparel, but have also distorted the model of buying and selling in Canada. It has all changed. And the online sale and the convenience of home delivery, and above all the possibility of cancelling the order, returning unwanted products, not necessarily defective, have helped companies to stay in business and continue to work, albeit at a reduced pace. So, according to the International Trade Administration, between January and August 2022, 27 million Canadians, or 75% of the population in Canada, were users and buyers via e-commerce, a number that continues to grow as time goes by. Online sales are expected to increase to 40 billion Canadian dollars by 2025. Social media, always at hand during the lockdown, thanks to smartphones, have become the best channel not only for communication, but also to acquire new clients. Canadian businesses, using a little creativity, have used it to promote their product, attract customers to their website, advertise the product, and offer it to customers. So Italian companies should be ready to share the advantages and the risks of this new channel, which is particularly convenient when it comes to selling small lots or performing test runs on a new brand, as overall expenses are lower and inventories can be tweaked, can be adapted in terms of location and speed of delivery to reduce shipping costs. So Canadian businesses continue to invest in digital assets, setting up more suitable logistics system, including shared warehousing or building marketplaces, also beyond the usual suspects such as Walmart and Amazon of this world, to offer a better service through the most remote areas, and there are quite a few in Canada. Most resellers have their online shopping presence, but the landscape keeps changing, and I personally wouldn't rule out a more relevant role of pure e-commerce marketplaces in the coming years, attracting more of both manufacturers and resellers to that format that is very flexible and very, very convenient. And by the way, the Italian Trade Agency has had for years a program by which it works with e-tailers to enhance their offerings of Italian products, although not yet in Canada, but in China, in Europe, and in the States. So in all this, the position of digital in the marketing mix has strengthened over time, as we were saying, thanks to its many advantages over traditional marketing. Digital marketing allows businesses to reach the target in seconds, influence trends, promote brands in no time, and it's quickly building a reputation to be the most cost-effective means for marketing new brands. So among the advantages, we can count the ability to remotely monitor, analyze the marketing campaign, make appropriate decisions, quickly report necessary changes, but also the possibility to shift focus on content and adapt it to customers, reaching out to the right buyers who browse the internet in search of fashion products. Another interesting opportunity that I would like to mention today is co-branding, whereby digital marketing allows two brands to come together in promoting and selling. This way, they will combine their credibility and attractiveness to increase the perceived value of the product or the service, and possibly also its price, while sharing the burden of investment in advertising. For many of us, the online shopping experience begins with a simple Google search, a search engine, of course, which might lead to your own website if you have optimized it well, or to a social media post or a page, where many customers spend hours a day. The two digital assets, the page and the social media presence, reinforce each other when it comes to online visibility. Popular ways of enhancing the outreach of those assets are Google AdWords or boosting social media posts or other kinds of content. So it's really important to build a brand's well-structured online presence, both as a manufacturer and within the reseller's digital space, so autonomously, but also inside some marketplace that already exists. And being offline, believe me, is a luxury we can't any longer afford, and investments on digital assets are definitely a must and need careful consideration. Now, let's say you have built your online presence, and you have the customer's attention. So now it's his time, the customer's time, to choose whether he wants to pursue your offerings or not. And we love to think that boasting a prestigious background like Made in Italy and a brand story to tell makes an important difference for that choice, for the customer's choice whether to buy from you or not. But it's also important for the consumer that the actual products and the tone of a company's marketing message are appropriate for the Canadian context. The country's proximity to USA, the frigid climate, the heterogeneous culture of the population, most of them are immigrants, are all factors to be kept in mind. And as Ziba was reminding us today, this morning, for the Italian exhibitors at the briefing, trends change continuously. They come and go, and we need to keep up. Today we all see a mix of trends from decades ago coming back, including the stretch jeans, originating in the 70s in the UK, and reintroduced later in the 90s by Dolce & Gabbana, then disappeared and appeared again in the 2000s and again in recent years. So it's like the monster of Loch Ness, right? It comes back when you least expect it. And the pandemic, with its lockdowns and work from home, changed Canadians' shopping habits, and not only in Canada, towards shopping online, but also in terms of trends, so comfortable and functional prevails over formal. By the way, according to a recent survey by Omnibus, 49% of respondents to the question whether they prefer looking good or feeling comfortable answered feeling comfortable, so half of the respondents were going for this. And they would prefer sneakers over heels by 82%, and baggy or oversized over tailored fit by 64%. So, coming back a little bit to the nitty-gritty, in most non-European countries, and Canada is no exception, the legislation on importation, shipping, safety, health, labeling is different from Europe. And I'm sure traders here are well aware of that. So products need to be found in compliance before they can enter the Canadian market. Nothing impossible to handle, but still an important requirement. And rules have been simplified and customs uses eliminated thanks to the Canadian-European trade agreement in place in September 2017. So the ITA provides and has provided Italian companies with tools to better understand those requirements and prepare to fulfill them, as have our partners, I'm sure. Overall, building a presence in a new market is an exciting and challenging experience, one that requires investing some time, some money, adopting a medium-term, patient perspective, and the reward, though, can be substantive, though especially if an effective mix of both marketing tactics and distributing channels is in place. Our offices in Toronto and Montreal are available to support Italian companies by providing customized inputs for their business plan, such as, for instance, information useful to profile potential customers by identifying fashion, demographic, or business trends which characterize a certain age, social, or lifestyle group or gender. Of course, we also provide leads to new customers. That's our bread and butter. But I wanted also to highlight the strategic cooperation that we can offer, which also should happen between traders and manufacturers. Close cooperation between actually also the designers, the manufacturers and traders that aim to choose, create, adapt the right products for the Canadian market, we believe can add a very good amount of value to a company's line of product. So we're glad to have created an occasion where such a cooperation can be started. Happy business to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am Ryan Mallough. I'm the Vice President of Legislative Affairs with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the last couple of years have been like for Canadian businesses, Canadian retailers in dealing with the pandemic, sort of a little bit of where we've been and a little bit of where we're going. I'm going to preface this a little bit by saying I've done this a fair bit for the last couple of years. I've been talking to groups, I've been doing media hits. I've developed a little bit of a reputation for kind of being the grim reaper. A lot of the news that I have is not great. It has been an incredibly difficult year. That being said, I don't want you to walk away thinking that everything is grim. There is a lot of opportunity, especially on the fashion side, especially on the retail side, with what has happened. I would also like to say how wonderful it is to see people in person again. This is maybe the second time I've worn a suit in the last couple of years, which shows you how dramatic the change has been. We've seen some major cultural changes in Canada. We've certainly seen significant changes to the way we work, where we work, and how we work. And all of that has had a significant impact on demand, a significant impact on how Canadian businesses are operating. So a little bit about the organization. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business is 50 years old. We operate in all 10 provinces across the country, as well as having an office at Ottawa. We represent small business owners in every sector at all levels in government. So we have challenges with the federal government, we're there. We have challenges with the provincial government here in Toronto or in Vancouver or in Montreal, we're there. We have challenges with municipal governments and mayors. We are there on behalf of our members. We are one member, one vote. We survey regularly, and I'm going to talk about some of the data we've collected. But all of the opinions, all of the stances that we take are based on what small business owners are telling us. So as much as I have many opinions about many things, that's not what anybody hears. You're hearing what it is our members feel, what they want, what is or isn't working for them. Over the course of the pandemic, we took 78,000 calls from businesses, members and non-members alike, from across the country. That's about double our normal volume. We had over 100,000 participants in our weekly webinars. We were surveying so frequently that we'd often send something out a Friday and be briefing government officials on Monday. And almost in real time, we were able to say, these are the kinds of programs that are working, these are the kinds of programs people need, here's how anybody is feeling about lockdown or various government policies. We also did about 75,000 media hits between the 20 or so of us that are spokespeople across the company. Again, about double our normal volume. And we're meeting incredibly frequently with ministers, with staff, with other associations, just trying to make sure that we could get through the pandemic in a way that saw our businesses to the other side. So as happy as we are to say that the vast majority of Canadian small businesses did make it to the other side, that they are still operating, that we did come out of the pandemic, it has not been without a significant hit to our economy. Currently, 54% of Canadian small businesses are still not back to their normal revenue levels. 62% of them are still carrying significant pandemic-related debt, and of that 62%, 40% have yet to pay off a single cent of that debt. The average debt for a Canadian small business as a result of the pandemic is $158,000. It's a little bit higher here in Ontario, about $165,000. And of course, as we have all gone through at various points, the significant stress burden is still very much there. Mental health is becoming a much needed but much delayed concern and focus for small business owners. 78% say that they personally are still feeling pandemic stress, let alone what's being felt amongst their employees. And again, in an unfortunate sense, Grim Reaper, always a little bit of bad news, we've moved from one crisis to another. As much as we hope that we are now out of the pandemic phase, that we never have to go back to lockdowns, that we never have to see businesses shut down again, we are facing significant inflationary pressure in Canada. We are facing significant supply chain pressure, largely being driven by the price of gasoline, but also just a delay in global supply and the change in demand and the evolution in demand that is happening across the country. Currently, 1 in 7 Canadian small businesses are still at risk of permanently closing due to COVID-19. And again, we're talking about 1 million, 1.1 million small businesses across the country. That's 140,000 businesses that are still at risk of permanent closure. That's not to say nothing will replace them, but in one of the positive things that we've seen over the course of the pandemic is that as well as Amazon has done, the desire to shop local in Canada has actually never been higher. But 92% of Canadians have said there's an increased prominence on shopping local. And part of that comes from being out and about in your communities and seeing the toll the pandemic took. I'm sure we've all seen our main streets with boarded up windows, papered over walls, the businesses that we relied on being there, the businesses that were always there, suddenly not there anymore. We lost some 100-year-old institutions. We had one business owner out in Newfoundland tell us that they survived the Spanish flu and 2 world wars, and it was COVID that wound up taking them down. It was a B&B on the island. So it has had a significant impact, and it has re-alerted Canadians to the importance of shopping local. The fact that a local business is not just local jobs, it's not just local tax dollars, but it is the soul and vibrancy of your neighborhood. It is the name on the back of kids' hockey sweaters or baseball jerseys. It is the light when you are driving home from a trip or a long day that marks the fact that you are almost home. It is the businesses that mark your community, and that renewed sense of community is a significant opportunity. We heard a fair bit on the importance of digital. That pivot has absolutely been necessary over the course of the pandemic. Opening digital retail space, and we've seen some excellent government programs to assist Canadian businesses do that, has been absolutely crucial. However, for small businesses, we're talking 4 employees, 5 employees, 6 employees, also a bit of a challenge to manage. Having to manage an online inventory, having to manage shipping, having to manage tracking inventory and tracking orders can be a challenge. And we have seen renewed interest from shoppers in shopping in person. That is particularly true in retail and in clothing retail. As much as if you know your shoe size or your waistline, which if you're like me might have changed rather dramatically over the course of the pandemic, you may be able to order online, but there's nothing that really replaces coming in and trying something on to really get a feel of the item or the product that you have. So we are seeing a renewed uptake. It is a little bit of a transition. Stores are sort of trying to figure out what their ideal space is, both in terms of the look and feel, but also in the square footage. So we are seeing some stores downsize a little bit on space, but remain very committed to the bricks and mortar space, and are seeing an uptick in sales on that side. The other important thing that we are starting to see, and it still hasn't shaken out yet, is that our cities are changing dramatically over the course of the pandemic. Again, remote work is something that is here to stay. I know that next week here in Toronto, kids are going to be going back to school. Very exciting. There's a lot of employers that have a very strong belief that once that happens, so too will the workforce come back to downtown. It might to an extent. I would divorce the notion that we're going to go back to 2019 at any point soon. Even in Toronto, we've seen foot traffic return to 70, 80, in some cases 90% of what it was on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during the week. Monday and Friday, people are not remotely close to coming in the same amount that they were. And again, we are seeing businesses have to adjust their business models based on that reality. We are starting to see a lot more businesses open on Sundays and are closing on Mondays instead. That sort of has become the end of the week. We are seeing, in particular in the restaurant industry, a lot of businesses shift from having a lunch on Monday or Friday to dinner only, but are opening up for breakfast instead on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because that's when people are out. Again, a lot of this still has to shake out. We're not quite sure what's permanent yet, and what is going to continue to sort of evolve as we go. But it is a reality that it is going to be different. It is something that we have to watch and adapt for moving forward. That being said, though, now that we are finally allowed to get back into person, people are very excited and interested in getting back together in person. We are seeing the weddings people are holding are a little bit bigger. The events that people are holding are a little bit bigger. Anecdotally, I can tell you that people are a lot more interested in dressing up when they have the opportunity because for 2 years, we haven't. So again, in that, there is opportunity. There is a chance to address that market. At the same time, as I noted, this is the first time in a couple of years that I've worn a suit. It's also the first time I haven't worn elastic waist pants in a couple of years, which I'm not that embarrassed to talk about. But the reality is that comfort has become has taken a much more central role in what people want to wear. When you are working around the house, and call it sort of a workplace mullet, but if you have to be on screen, what's important is here and up, which means you can wear pajama pants, you can wear shorts in the winter, you can wear anything that anyone isn't seeing, doesn't matter quite as much. So we've seen a lot more people on the office side, especially on the men's side. There's a lot of interest in shirt, tie, and jacket, less in pants and shoes. And again, that's something that's evolving over time as well. And we'll see if it holds, but I think that Zoom is largely here to stay, especially as we all connect a little bit more. So moving forward, again, there is opportunity in what is new. The main question is going to be trying to figure out exactly what it is that is new, what trends are going to hold in place, what trends are only temporary. I think that, again, we are approaching a new normal. I think there's a lot of people that are very hopeful that that looks like what it used to be. I think there's a lot of people that are optimistic that it's going to be a transition. It's likely going to fall somewhere in between. But again, more than anything, the key takeaway that I think to bring back from this and from any of your conversations with Canadian business owners is that there is significant reason for optimism. There's reason to believe that we're on the other side of this, and again, the prominence of the importance of shopping local, the prominence of the importance of small businesses in particular to the Canadian economy is very much growing. That being said, not without its challenges. Again, inflationary pressure, supply chain pressure. If you talk to any business in any part of this country, it doesn't matter if they're a retailer, if they're in construction, transportation, and accountants' offices, finding employees is a major, major challenge. It's actually hurting us on the production capacity side. We have a lot of business owners telling us we can absolutely produce more, but we don't have the people to do it. And that's a challenge on retail manufacture, that's a challenge on construction, where we could build more if we only had the people to do the building. Part of that will be solved by an increase in immigration, part of that will be solved by a reinvestment in skills training, but there is also ample opportunity for our friends from other countries, and especially in Italy, to fill that production gap. If you've got a retail store that has the space and needs items, that is the opportunity to bring those items in to fill the space, because again, the demand is there. We've seen significant savings among Canadian households over the course of the pandemic. Travel wasn't happening as much. They're willing to spend a lot more on clothing, on other retail items, and certainly quality has taken a much larger place in the hearts and minds of the Canadian consumer. But again, we still struggle with empty storefronts, we still struggle with supply challenges, we still struggle with manufacturing capacity. So again, I think there's a good synergy there and an opportunity there to meet what both sides are looking for, and again, bring other markets into Canada. And again, there are all the big chains in the world, but if you bring your products into a small business. You are not just getting the benefit of the boost from shopping local, but you are getting a deep brand loyalty, because again, those small businesses are not just stores, they're not just tax dollars, they're not just jobs, they really are the soul of their community. And someone who's got a favorite shop, who's got a favorite cafe, who's got a favorite restaurant, they do keep coming back. And once you made a customer, you tend to have made a customer for life. That is everything that I've got on my side. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll be around if you guys have any. But once again, lovely to be back in person and seeing people face to face again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and chat if you're interested.
So this concludes our presentations. I don't see any hands raising up, but if there are any, please feel free, or later, we'll be around. And there's still some time before lunch, so feel free to browse, and then we'll network a little bit more later. And then there will be a photo shooting session starting at 1:30 maybe?
Yes, moment.
But it's in progress, so it will go on during the whole afternoon. And tomorrow, don't forget to come back if you can for Roberto Borbelli's talk at 10:30, right? Yeah, about new models of business in the Italian fashion industry. Thanks a lot.